Hey guys, here's part 2 of this build video for the Nebula V2. Today we're going to be working on completing the tail surfaces, making some more progress on the fuselage, and building the front landing gear. The tail surfaces are being wire cut out of foam, and I'll end up fiberglassing the skin to increase the strength. One thing to keep in mind when you're wire cutting is that if you don't have a constant cord or if you have sweep on the wing that you're cutting out, it really helps to have some guidelines so you can make sure each side is at the right part on the airfoil. I don't remember what kind of foam board this is, but I'm not going to be using it again. I picked it up from Menards. You want to make sure that you add some fiberglass to the front landing gear steering block, otherwise it might not be strong enough if you end up taking a heavy impact. And you want to do the same thing for the control horn to stop that from breaking. I used a wooden dowel to hold down the leading edge of the vertical stabilizer, but you could use wax paper and something that conforms to it. It'd probably come out with much better results. I ended up switching foams for the horizontal stabilizer because of the voids I found in the foam I used for the vertical stabilizer, and also because that foam I used was more brittle. Books are an alright substitute for holding down the thing you're cutting if you don't have any weights, but weights do work a lot better if you happen to have some. If you have a lot of grooves in your wire cutting, you'll probably want to fill it in with something. Otherwise, you can try to sand it down, but you might end up having a lopsided airfoil if you do that. using a 4mm diameter rod for the axle for the front landing gear, and the wheel's axle diameter is 3mm, so I had to drill out the wheels a bit. And to get a good solid connection for the front landing gear strut and the axle, you'll want to try to remove some material at the bottom of the strut so that it fits with the axle. Remember to use your safety goggles when you have shards of metal flying around. For the main joint between the front landing gear strut and the axle, I'm going to be soldering some wire, but if you have the equipment to do brazing, that would be a stronger joint. Since the nose is printed in 3 pieces, I have some tabs for them to fit together with and 2 channels for some foam runners to go through to help with lining the pieces. But whenever it's all joined together, I'm going to fiberglass it into the fuselage to get one solid piece. I'm adding a layer of fiberglass to the box structure right under where the main wing mount goes. I just wanted to make sure this area was extra reinforced. The tail piece is attached together using a fairing that also houses the horizontal stabilizer servo and the FPV gear. just using one of the main spars from my wing to drill a hole through the vertical stabilizer for the wires to pass through. Whenever the carbon fiber spar starts spinning fast enough, it'll heat up and it just sort of melts through the foam. But I didn't do a very good job of keeping it straight and ended up pushing material off from the fiberglass wall. Here I'm extending the length of the wires on the servo so they can reach through the vertical stabilizer and all the way up through the tail section into the fuselage. Use Gorilla Glue for the main joint, but you can also use some hot glue on the outside to tack the pieces in place so they don't come apart while the Gorilla Glue sets. There's a lot of warping on these pieces, I think because of the humidity while I was printing, but I go around it by putting some masking tape on the inside and then using the wood fill to fill up all the cracks. There are some other printing defects that I'm filling in here too, like some of the outer walls had some holes in it where the material under extruded. I didn't record connecting the front landing gear servo because I couldn't get any good shots of it since it was internal, but just put some foam baffling on either side to hold it in place and put it up against one of the side channels. Also using some Gorilla Glue to attach the rear landing gear and then also tack it in place with some hot glue, and then later on I'll fiberglass over it along with the whole fuselage, and then I'll drill through those two holes and put some bolts on the inside to make sure it has a solid fit. Here's the front part of the fuselage with the landing gear all connected. So I would definitely recommend cutting out the control surfaces before you attach everything together, but that is not what I did, and I slightly regret it. Using some nylon hinges that I picked up from the local hobby store. I tried to drill holes into the stabilizers to fit the hinges in, but it didn't work out very well. If you have something you can use to melt a hole into the foam, it'd probably work a lot better. Here I added the top surface to the rear portion of the fuselage so I can go ahead and connect the tail surfaces to it. And I'm doing the same thing here where I use Gorilla Glue as the main adhesive for the join, but I use some hot glue to tack it into place so the Gorilla Glue can set.